B, can you please explain why we have a plate of wings sitting in front of us?
You said we were doing an episode on Buffalo Brothers and wings.
B, you never listened to me fully.
But I'm improving. My New Year's resolution is to be a better friend and a better co-host. So I listened to the show idea and I went out for the Buffalo Brothers and Bourbon and I got us some nice wings. I got us ranch because who wants blue cheese? I mean, that's basically something that's in the back of the fridge that stinks. And I got us some good bourbon. So here we are.
B, like I said, if you had listened fully, you would know we're doing an episode comparing Buffalo Trace with Bowman Brothers. Not Buffalo Wings and Bourbon.
We're not doing an episode on wings?
No. Nope.
Well, the heck with that. Forget my New Year's resolution. You want a wing?
That's fair.
So what's up, Heather?
What's up, B? I am proud of you for working on your New Year's resolutions. Don't give up yet.
Forget that. I failed. Let's get some more wings. I mean, who doesn't love wings?
That's true. I do love wings. Welcome to Tortured Bourbon. We're here to help B on his journey to becoming a more whole and complete person. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and helping me along that journey.
Who needs self-help? I had wings.
You're really hung up on the wings.
I like wings.
If you're new here, please click like and subscribe. This show is about bourbon, humor, and removing the pretentiousness from bourbon, and apparently sometimes it's about wings.
Don't lie. Y'all love wings. We could do a whole episode just on different types of wings. You watch. Wings and bourbon. You watch.
A pairing, in fact.
There we go. Well, Heather loves attention. I don't know if y'all know that. So connect with her on socials. We actually did a whole episode on our show's New Year resolution. Now that one I'm not giving up on. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers because when we do, we can host our first ever live show. And if you want to come down, you get to be our guest. No kidding. We're going to have a mic. It's going to be great. You're just not allowed to talk politics or cuss, but you can talk all the bourbon you want.
Can talk about pretty much anything else, honestly.
You can cuss off camera. It's fine.
Now, B, since this show is not actually about buffalo wings, is there anything you have to share about the bourbons we're drinking? Did you do any research or did you just wing it? Back to bourbon.
So you're actually asking for story time with B?
Inadvertently.
Yeah. All right. So being my co-host has asked for story time with B.
That's a strong way to put that, but okay.
So a few years ago, the internet was abuzz about Bowman Brothers bourbon. Buffalo Trace had reached its peak frenzy. It was nearly impossible to find. Not that you can just go get it right now,
Right.
but people were paying ridiculous prices on the secondary market for something that should be a $29 bottle of bourbon. Now, to be clear, it's good bourbon.
Right, yeah.
And it's an everyday sipper, but people should not be paying more than market price for it.
So, B, why did Bowman Brothers get all the hype?
So that's a good question. Bowman Brothers originally launched in 1934, the day after Prohibition ended.
Okay, I'm getting into this story so far.
And they're cool people. Abram Smith Bowman and his sons, Abram Jr., imagine that, and DeLong, founded it on their 7,200 acre farm in Fairfax County, Virginia. Tyler, here's your fun fact. From the time of its founding until the 1950s, it was the original and only legal whiskey distillery in Virginia. Their main product at the time was Virginia Gentleman.
Is that Kentucky Gentleman's more classy cousin?
Well, it might be now, but back in the day, it was an everyday sipper. Now, in 1988, they moved most of their production to Fredericksburg, Virginia. And then in 2003, Sazerac, who we've been talking about, they purchased it. And they're obviously the people who own Buffalo Trace.
And everything else.
So Bowman Brothers tells us their bourbon is distilled 3 times using the finest corn, rye, and malted barley. Does anyone brag that they don't use... We use the castaway corn,
honestly,
the castaway rye.
We use kind of the mediocre. Yeah. Like, we just don't really care that much.
Yeah. It has hints of vanilla... They tell us. It has hints of vanilla, spice, and oak. Well, the internet says their distillate originates from Buffalo Trace's #1 mash bill, and they actually bring it down to the Bowman Brothers distillery to be triple distilled.
So how much of that is actually true?
You want me just to call Sazerac on the customer service line and be like, hey, give me the lowdown? You think they're going to answer?
Yeah, please.
Well, you don't know much about Sazerac, 'cause that ain't happening.
So, B, what are we drinking today? Because I know we're not just drinking this.
So we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to do a little experiment.
Okay.
Because if nothing else on this show, we're thorough.
Or guinea pigs. Pick.
Yep. So this is Buffalo Trace's unaged white dog mash. That's what you call the distillate when it comes right out of the distill before you put it in the barrel and it does its magic. Then we're going to drink this and compare it to the distilled aged version, which would be the Bowman Brothers and the Buffalo Trace. So this is white dog mash. It's the distillate. It's what comes out. So if you look on the label, it comes out at 125 proof.
Woo!
And that's what they put in the barrel. They age it, and they make Buffalo Trace.
That one.
All right. The internet tells us that they take it, they distill it 3 times, and they make Bowman Brothers.
Okay. All right.
So we're doing a
kind of a progression.
That's exactly what we're doing. We've been doing a lot about Buffalo Trace and their different labels, their different expressions. Let's start with the original.
So you're going to make me start with the moonshine.
So let's talk about that for a second. When you say moonshine, this is North Carolina, and we have a history of moonshine. Moonshine is the distillate that's come right off the still. They obviously don't have time to age it. If you're hiding from the feds,
you can't hide barrels.
You don't build a rick house, okay?
Right.
So it's the distillate, and you're hoping that they have proofed it down so that
it won't kill you.
Yeah, so it won't kill you or turn you blind. And you're hoping that the tails and the heads, and that's the beginning of the mash and the end of the mash when it comes off, you're hoping that they've poured that out because the heads and the tails, they have things in it you do not want to consume.
So that's why there's a lot of hoping and wishing that goes into drinking your moonshine.
There's a lot of hoping and wishing in moonshine.
And it's why that back in the day and even now, like you kind of had to get a reputation as a good moonshiner for people to trust your product.
Now that being said, the difference with this and traditional moonshine, this is legal. It was legally distilled. That's an important part.
That is an important distinction, yes.
But generally with moonshine, moonshiners will put some type of taste into it. Now, they're not legally required to keep this as pure distillate, right? So we don't know if their corn is really a certain percentage, if their rye is a certain percentage, but you could see them sweetening it with blueberries or strawberries or peaches.
That's personal favorite.
Right. Those are all things that you see them being sweetened. But for lack of a better term, if we were to go to a still in the mountains that was not legal, that was near a creek, that would never happen.
No.
And this was to come off a still, and they would give it to us. This is what we'd be drinking.
That's what it looked like.
Okay.
So we're going to try it.
But I think it's important for our viewers who we have viewers of all different levels of experience. When whiskey comes off the still, it's clear. I think that's an important thing that we keep saying. The barrel is what gives it its color. It's what gives it different tastes. The oak is what does that. The char is what does that. This is, I am sure the camera's picking it up. This is perfectly clear, right? When they say that bourbon can contain no additives, it's the color that you see is the color you're supposed to be getting from the barrel.
You cannot artificially color bourbon.
Correct.
Well, at least I know this is pure when it burns my esophagus.
Well, I mean, now it's 125 proof.
You're right. We've drank stuff higher than that.
But the important part of this is to understand it gives us a better appreciation for what the barrel does.
You know, you're absolutely right. And right off the bat, even just smelling it, I'm missing that richness that the barrel gives, even just the nose. So
this is corn.
It almost smells more like tequila. I'm not saying exactly like
it,
but
so tequila, and I like tequila. Agave has a different, obviously a different flavor profile and smell than corn.
Right.
But what you are getting here is if you smell Blanco tequila, which is tequila that has not been aged in a barrel, and it should be clear. If you have a Blanco tequila that's not clear,
don't drink it.
Don't drink it. They've added something to that bad boy to make you think you're drinking
don't do it.
Aged tequila.
Like Rosado or something.
Don't do it. So in that regard, because it has a different smell than, say, bourbon that's been aged. I definitely smell.
It's less of a smell. You get corn.
You should get sweet corn.
Yeah, exactly. You get a hint of sweet corn. It's not super strong.
Maybe a little cream corn is what you might smell. But what you should not get is oak.
No, and if you say you get oak,
You're
making stuff up.
Because at best, you're getting distillate. You're getting alcohol that is evaporated off of a beer mash.
I mean, I'm probably not gonna pick it.
Okay, but you get the sweetness. Corn hits immediately.
You know what that tastes like at the end? Man, when I used to eat corn on the cob that my grandmother had grown
on the front,
and you get to the end of the cob.
Yep,
that's exactly what it tastes like.
So as soon as you sip
the end is sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's very sweet. Now all the burn is coming from whatever rye content and alcohol content. Mm-hmm. So if you're wondering where different flavors
and
come
obviously
from,
it hasn't been watered down.
None. It's sweet.
It's how
corn.
It came out. Yeah.
It's corn.
That is better than I anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying that you would sit there and just pound this, but you can imagine if you put a little peach in there, and you put a little strawberry in this.
I'll have it all day long.
To me, it's better than vodka.
I would drink it straight over vodka mixed in most things.
I mean, what did we grow up on as a staple?
Corn.
Corn. Yeah. We grew up on a staple on corn.
Yeah.
And for those of us, if we have any listeners from Canada or from the Northeast or from Europe or Australia, not that who would be watching from Australia? The South, especially this area, corn is our staple.
Yeah.
Not wheat, not rye, corn. It's in our grits. It's in everything we eat. Corn.
Cornbread.
Corn
on the cob.
Yeah.
Cream corn.
We're eating corn.
Yeah.
So when you and I put this in, it's like sweet corn. It's not unusual at a meal for us to have cornbread, corn on the cob, and then something that's been breaded with cornmeal.
Squash. Yeah. Fried squash.
Yeah. Or okra. Now we're going to get Bowman Brothers. This is the small batch. Now, I will tell you that, as you can see on our little cool medallion, we did happen to pick up a single barrel. Mm-hmm. But it's still their small batch. They have several expressions at the Bowman Brothers distillery. The one that people mostly search for is John J. Bowman. But this is the Bowman Brothers.
This is kind of their, I hate to use the term, but run-of-the-mill
staple. No,
it's
it
their
is.
Staple.
This is what they're turning out. This is what they're turning along.
Yeah.
We just happen to have a single barrel.
It's not allocated here.
Yep. It's not allocated.
So
it comes in at 90 proof. It's an undisclosed mash bill with no age statement.
Shocker.
Press materials tell us that the nose is warm like a Virginia summer.
I mean, I think that sounds amazing.
They really wrote that down.
We're not done. Keep
like
going.
A Virginia summer with flavors of vanilla, oak, and a finish that's, quote, smooth and mellow, like a quiet night on the front porch.
So we're supposed to taste a porch.
Only if it's a southern porch. Fireflies included.
Okay, that I can go with.
If you go to the Bowman Brothers website, they'll tell you all about the history of their naming and the history of the Bowman family and the historical relevance of their building. You can go research all that on your own. But they actually do have an excellent website. Yeah. And one of the things they do talk about, they have a whole section on visiting Fredericksburg and visiting other parts of Virginia. So they're into the tourist industry. I can't wait to go.
So, I'm not sure if I get warm Virginia summer, but it is a really pleasant smell.
So when I sip it, I just want to go, dear Harmony, it pains me to write to you here
on my porch.
On my porch.
On my porch.
But the Northerners are coming, and I must take up arms against the tyranny of Northern oppression.
B and I were absolutely born in the entirely wrong century. Give me an antebellum hoop skirt all day, any day.
For my love of country, I will take up arms against this oppression.
But first I will drink
my Bowman Brothers.
Anyway, it does smell really good.
It does.
Which good is a stupid label.
Yeah, we love good.
It smells so good.
On the porch. I do get vanilla. And you should.
It smells very sweet. Absolutely vanilla. It's almost like the level of vanilla of like baking. Like it's a strong sweet taste smell.
So now you'll really smell corn
Now this smells like corn on the cob.
Wow.
That smells like where you dry corn in a barn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And this smells like a cake, comparatively speaking.
I mean, it smells like a bundt cake.
It does.
It
smells
does.
like a bundt. A vanilla bundt.
Just sitting right there on the porch.
It's a bundt.
Waiting to be enjoyed at the southern dinner, at the table.
My reference was
With my cornbread.
My reference was to the big fat Greek wedding, so we went different ways.
We went very different ways with that.
That is so pleasant. It's very sweet. It's not super complex. No. But that is the definition of an everyday sipper for someone who wants something that's not going to challenge them.
Yeah. But I have to read this. John, Abraham, Joseph, and Isaac Bowman were Virginia militia officers in the American Revolutionary War. In 1779, they led 30 pioneer families to Madison County, Kentucky, and established Bowman Station. Later, the brothers helped establish and settle Fayette County. They were legends, admired and respected by fellow settlers for their courage and bravery. This handcrafted bourbon whiskey is a tribute to their 4 heroic Bowman brothers.
Back to their bourbon.
Back to their bourbon. If you're wondering where the humor is coming from, we recently reviewed Wilderness Trail that doesn't give you any of that junk, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we compared it to Elijah Craig that has this whole mystery of the magic barrels.
The immaculate
And then
barrels.
we have Jefferson's, which has nothing to do with Thomas Jefferson.
No.
And we're all for it, and we love...
We love all of it.
All that bourbon. We love all that bourbon. It's just the story that they've got to put on the bottle as opposed to just saying,
well, it's
our
hysterical.
bourbon is so good, drink it.
Instead it's like, hey, here's the age, here's the mash bill, here's the proof.
Yeah, in all of that area, they could put age, mash bill, proof.
Yes. And even more information if they wanted to.
but
And
no,
instead it's like, John, Abraham, Joseph, and Isaac. Conceived in bourbon.
Conceived in
And
bourbon.
dedicated to the quality and quantity.
To racing horses at Churchill Downs. What the
With
heck,
our
man?
mint juleps.
What the heck, man? Just make bourbon.
What are you tasting, B?
I get a taste of the Virginia Cavaliers on a Friday night.
Wahoo wah.
Wahoo wah. It's sweet.
It's very
There's
sweet.
a nice oak on the end. It's not heavily oaked.
A lot of vanilla. It is inoffensive.
Low rye. Doesn't
Very
burn.
low rye. Is there rye? Did it just like wink at rye as
Just-
it went through?
just enough to let you know you're drinking bourbon.
That doesn't burn even a little bit. This would be something that if you have someone come over and you have it on your shelf and they're new to bourbon or whiskey, you can safely serve this to them. Absolutely. It's good. It's very quality.
So this dog hunts.
Exactly. That's what I meant by that is it's not going to rise up above that for me because it is just such a staple everyday sipper.
This is Buffalo Trace. For those of you who've never heard of Buffalo Trace,
Why are you watching a bourbon show?
Yeah, this comes from a small distillery called Buffalo Trace, which used to be the George T. Stagg distillery up in this place called Kentucky.
We're going to get into that in another episode.
Yeah. Now, you can't find this on the shelf around here, but if you do, it is supposed to have a taste of vanilla, mint, molasses with a long, smooth finish.
So it's pretty light in color.
So you know what I gotta do? I'm gonna take.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna smell it against the other.
The Bowman's a lot sweeter, in my opinion. It smells a lot sweeter.
They're not identical in smell.
No. They are similar proof points, right?
Yes.
The Buffalo Trace smells like it has a slightly higher alcohol content, even though it doesn't.
I don't know how many times. I'm assuming Buffalo Trace is distilled only once. This is distilled supposedly 3 times. I don't know what that's changing. They do put a whole lot more writing on the back of the Buffalo Trace bottle.
They do. It's almost so small you can't read it.
Is now the time that I tell people that we actually don't have buffalo in this country, they're American bison?
Sure.
Or do we save that for a different episode?
I think you go for it.
They're very similar. They're very similar.
You taste the rye more in the Buffalo Trace.
But their finish is very similar to me. Both sweet up front, still a low rye count, but the finish to me is very similar.
You get a little oak. It's sweet on the finish.
It is sweet.
I would say in the middle that the Buffalo Trace has a little bit more of a spice to me. than the Bowman Brothers.
So what would we rate Buffalo Trace? I mean, we get vanilla. We know what we're going to get.
Yeah.
And people who are watching the show,
You've had Buff Trace.
You're getting vanilla. You're getting some oak on the back. There's just a touch of rye,
Little rye
in the middle to give you just this hint of baking spice or pepper. You know what you're getting. It's
consistent.
It's an easy to drink. It is unoffensive. It is not complex. You can drink it all night as long as you can sit up, and you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's 90 proof.
It's a that dog will hunt for me as well.
And it should be.
It should be.
At its price point, it should sit right there on the shelf. Yep. You should be able to walk in. You should be able to buy it.
Yep.
$29. It's got a cool little...
So that is why I'm going to go on my Buffalo Trace soapbox for 2 seconds.
Sure.
That's exactly what it should be. It's solid. It's a That Dog Will Hunt at MSRP. It's a great price point. Don't chase this bottle.
Which one do you think's better?
I do slightly prefer the Buffalo Trace.
One day I want us to do a blind tasting. I'm not
these
sure.
Two? I think you could tell the difference. The Bowman Brothers does not have any rye come through in the taste.
Now that you've said that, I don't know that I'm tasting it or if I'm not getting into the psychology of it. I'm going to tell you that if you've never had Buffalo Trace, if you walk into an ABC store and you look on the shelf and you want to have some idea of what everyone's talking about, a small batch, Bowman Brothers is a really good substitute. It's unoffensive. It's sweet. It's doing similar things. It is a Sazerac product. It's priced competitively. Go for it.
So B, for you, which one comes on ahead?
I don't know that I prefer one. There's a difference. I don't know that I prefer one. They're not so different that I'm going to stake in the ground this bad boy. There are tasters out there who have the palates who can tell the difference. I'm not that person. Why? Well, they're all 90 proof. They're all the same distillate. They're all being aged about the same amount of time. This one is being aged in Virginia. This one is being aged in Kentucky.
Well, obviously that's why we can tell the difference, because it tastes like Virginia.
It's a porch. Absolutely.
It tastes like a porch.
But I think what we did learn, and what I do think is important, is we understand that we've talked a lot about on the show, and I would encourage you, because who we are, I would encourage you to go look at episodes we talk about different brands where we're going deep. Because we talk about what distillate they start with. For instance, and here we go, because I can't go an episode without talking about it. What am I going to talk about?
Wild Turkey.
All of Wild Turkey's bourbon offerings come from one mash bill, one distill. But they make a ton of products. We can argue which one's better, which one we like
Right, but
more.
they all taste different.
Buffalo Trace Distillery is using 3 distillates for bourbon. They're using mash bill number 1, mash bill number 2, and then their wheated mash bill, which is Weller. So, however, that means that Benchmark, bottled in bond, from what we understand,
is the same mash bill.
Is mash bill number 1.
Right.
That it tastes like that. It tastes like that sweet corn when it comes out.
And then it's aged.
Of the distill. But when we smell it, the first thing we smell is peanuts. It's basically a nutter butter. When we smell this, neither one of us went.
No, I didn't get nut in either of these.
Neither.
No, not at all.
So
it's very brown sugar.
Yeah.
Vanilla, sweet.
And so I think one of the things where I get really interested with Buffalo Traces. Why are you hiding the mash bill?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, it's something you're doing in the aging in the barrel.
Right.
Unless you're not telling us something, but I think it's mash bill number 1, and it's something about how they age in the barrel. And guess
maybe
what?
even where.
And guess what? You can't replicate it.
No.
You can't replicate it.
No.
All right.
It's gonna be different every time.
Because they've got tasters, they've got mixers, now they've got science involved. They're running tests on it. So it's not like I'm going to go out and make.
You're not going to go make the Buffalo Trace.
No, these aren't going to be fake Nikes that I make in China for $5.99. So just go ahead and tell us how long it's aged. Because you only got to say the minimum number, not the max number.
Correct.
Give me a minimum number age statement. Give me the at least. Give me the mash bill, and let me have some information, as opposed to the in 8-point font 1, 2, 3 paragraphs about the heritage
8 might be
of
generous.
legendary explorers and rugged wilderness in the new lands, and something about chasing the buffalo across Kentucky. What are you talking about?
Right.
So, I mean, it's,
Maybe next time, like 2 sentences, and then give me your mash bill and your age statement. Anyway.
That being said, let's cheers, y'all.
Let's cheers. On
Cheers,
that
y'all.
note, cheers, y'all.